thought there were specific guidelines to this.
Okay, well, I'm just doing better than you. That's all I needed to know.
Okay, awesome. Who's sleeping on the couch tonight? Not
you
me.
are. Hi everyone, it's Aaron and Heidi at the Book Brood, and this is our last wrap-up of 2016.
2016 is over, and we had a fantastic reading year.
Fabulous.
It was amazing. It was. If you would have asked me this time last year how many books I would have read this year, I would have said I'd be lucky to read 20.
I'd say I'd be lucky to read 5.
Isn't that incredible?
It is incredible, honestly. So,
because you ended the year...
I ended 2015 reading 3 books.
Yeah.
I didn't count my comics or graphic novels, but 3 novels.
Last year in 2015, I read a total of 16 novels, and I was very proud of myself because that was the most I had read in at least 3 or 4 years.
Since having children.
Since having children, yeah.
So what were your totals for...
I can't even believe it. I read over 100 books more than I thought I was going to. I ended the year at 118 books.
And counting comics and graphic novels and manga, I ended the year at 124 books.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So I love Goodreads' function where it actually like breaks it down for you because honestly, it says that I read 27,738 pages this year, which is astounding.
Yes. And I'm not trying to one-up or anything.
Oh, but you did, though.
And I read 29,509 pages this year.
I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. I'm very proud of you too. I'm very proud of both of us.
Me too.
And we have a YouTube channel now.
I think that our YouTube channel has a huge effect on how much we read.
Absolutely. And we're toying with the idea of 100 subscribers.
What? I know, we're so close. I honestly cannot believe it. I mean...
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all who actually watch our videos. And this channel has been so... it's just been so motivating to help us actually read. But the first couple of things that I finished this month were graphic novels that I've already returned to the library. And that was Gotham Academy Volume 1, which I rated 4 stars. And iZombie Volume 1, which I rated 4 stars. So I binge-watched both seasons of iZombie on Netflix, and I thought they were absolutely freaking fantastic. And I definitely have to give mad props to, and I literally cannot remember her name right now. I know her channel, and I'm going to leave it right here. But I heard her talk about how good that show was on Netflix, and I binge-watched the entire thing. And then had to pick up the graphic novels, and they were equally as good, but very, very different.
The first 2 things I read this month that I returned to the library was Red She-Hulk Volume 2 by Jeff Parker. I rated that 4 stars. I thought that was a great addition to the Hulk mythos of having Betty Banner as her own Hulk superhero and not just being damsel in distress that Bruce always has to save. I thought it was really great to actually make her a superhero in the Marvel-verse, and that was really awesome. And there was this character that was named Aaron that's called Machine Man, and he was very awesome. So, a very good addition.
Wait, so was that Liv Tyler's character in
Yes.
Edward Norton? Okay. I like that.
And then I read Claymore Volume 1. That is by Norihiro Yagi. And that's actually a manga that I want to continue. It's about essentially half-breed demons that have to slay the full-bred demons in this world, and they get to a point where the demon part of them becomes too much, and they have to get a companion to kill them before they become too tainted. And so it's following one of them and a little boy who lost his family to these demons and just decided to follow this. Claymore is what they call them because they wield these giant swords. Back to you.
Okay, so the next thing I read was completely cheesy and awful, and I was in this massive reading slump. And I was like, you know, I could just read smutty fan fiction online, but I can't record that on my Goodreads challenge, and I need a few more. So I picked up this really horrible, cheesy, like, threesome romance erotica situation. And I finished it. It was called Brazen by Maya Banks, and I did not rate this because I mean, it was erotica.
You rated it tee-hee, right?
I did. I made a little smiley, laughy face there. Because, the writing was not great. The characters were awful, and...
Were the pros believable?
I mean, it was erotica, so... If you need any plot whatsoever, this is about a girl, and she is taken in off the streets by these couple of brothers, and
they're cowboys, right?
They're cowboys, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And once she, becomes of an adult age, they seem to decide that they all want to bang each other. So that's a thing.
I didn't realize there was grooming involved in all.
Oh yeah, that makes it worse, doesn't
yeah.
it? I mean, the motives were pure at first, and she was the one to initiate.
Okay, so I guess that makes it all right.
Yeah, it was
Does
still. It was.
I remember
Texas
what I read.
Brother cowboy threesome situation.
Is that your thing?
I don't think it is. This is my first, and I think my last.
Your first cowboy experience.
Yeah.
All I know is what I read over your shoulder, and there was a moment of shh. That's all you need to know. Here, I read Angelic Layer, Volume 1. This is by... I don't know. I'll put it right here. It's probably something I can't pronounce. Anyway, this is about dolls that combat in competition through, kind of neural link headgear and stuff. And it's about this middle school girl that gets drawn into it by this extremely creepy older scientist guy.
God.
And the thing I actually enjoyed about it is it actually brought up how incredibly creepy this guy was, and multiple times he's being reported to security and the police because he's following this middle school girl far too much than he should.
Oh man.
It was Volume 1 was okay. I picked up Volume 3 or Volume 2 and 3 from the library, but they lost my interest.
Okay, the next one I have is a graphic novel which I have returned to the library. And this was Chew Volume 2 by John Layman. And I'm really torn because I feel like I should like Chew because I feel like iZombie and Chew are very much the same in that the main character ingests some part of this dead person and gets flashes of them and their life and then solves the crime that resulted in their murder or deceased, ness. They're dead now. But I think it's completely two different takes on it. I think that, weirdly enough, iZombie being told from a female perspective has a softer tone to it. So it's not so gross.
Yeah.
And I think that Chew really takes it to that extra level of just
trying to be gross.
Barf-tastic, disgustingness. So I think this is the last volume of Chew I'm going to be picking up. It over the top, trying to gross you out.
Yeah.
I gave it 3 stars. I do like the art style, and I do like the originality of it. But I can't hang.
Read Fairy Tale Volumes 2 and 3. I read Volume 1 a while ago. I gave these 2.5 stars. They're entertaining enough, but they really don't make you want to continue on to the next one.
Okay, so the next thing that I actually listened to this on audiobook, and it was narrated by the author, which I think made this totally perfect. And it was Are You There, Vodka? It's Me, Chelsea, by Chelsea Handler. And she narrated this, and I think that she is so hilarious. And she reminds me of one of my really good friends, like, in real life. But, like, if my friend was paid for being drunk and hilarious, like, it's just, she's just so out there, over the top, ridiculous, and it was exactly what I needed. I just needed a laugh, and just, because I was really nursing a kind of a book slump, I guess. I gave it 4 stars. I flew through it in like maybe 24 hours or 48 hours, and
yeah, you went through it really fast.
It was really funny.
All right, and then my next one is I finally got through Volume 2 of Miss Marvel, Generation Y, and this one's about Kamala Khan, the new Miss Marvel. I rated this one 3.5 stars. It's good enough, but it's good. This is good. I don't want to rag on this. It is good, but just for some reason it takes me a long time to get to them and to finish them. I read this in 2 parts, 2 installments. Oh. But 3.5 stars, definitely. And Volume 1 was actually a lot better.
Do you think it's the age of the character?
Kind of, but that's also what makes it interesting, too, because it's her trying to superhero while having these extremely conservative parents that want her to be this good girl academic at the same time. And it's like, what are you doing staying out till 1 a.m? How dare you? Oh my gosh, I thought you were dead, you know.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, so after I read the first volume of Gotham Academy, I could not figure out who the characters were supposed to be. I recognized Batman and Damian, and
Killer Croc?
Yeah, Killer Croc. But I couldn't figure out who the main character and her mother were. They were so her mother was supposed to be an Arkham and supposed to be like this villain, but I couldn't figure it out, and I felt like I was supposed to know who all of these characters were, and I couldn't get it, I guess. But, so I pushed through another volume, and that's what I finished next, was Volume 2. And I still could not figure out who anyone was supposed to be. It just, I felt like the author was putting in all these hints that I was not picking up. Mm-hmm. And so it made it feel really flat. I feel like there was supposed to be so much depth, but I wasn't understanding what was happening. And so I realized that this series is probably not for me. I gave it 3 stars. I really like the art. I really enjoy the banter between the characters. It's these children who are at this prep boarding school. You know, Damian becomes a character, and he's, trying to be like, no, I've got this kid. And everyone's like, please, like, we've got this. There's like demons and ghosts and things that we've been fighting for a long time. Why do you think you can just rush in here and like get this?
I hate Damian Wayne.
He's such a tool, obviously, but that part was kind of funny because he wasn't in the first one until the very end. No. But anyways, I gave it 3 stars. I really like the art. I just feel like this story is for people who actually understand who this main character's mother is supposed to be. And
all right, and so I am on to my novels now that I read, which I might have done my worst of 2016 too soon. I'm going to go worst to best here. This might be controversial, I don't know. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. So I'm older-ish, and I was in grade school when this original movie, Jurassic Park, came out into theaters. And I remember some of my friends bragging that they had read this novel and, it was so much better than the movie. I like the movie a lot better than this because at least the movie wasn't boring as hell.
The movie is classic.
This spent so much time getting to the meat of the story, the actual being on the island with the dinosaurs, being in trouble, things like that. Talked a lot about genetic engineering and DNA and paleontology. I don't exactly think that the science was all that spot on or was all that good. So that one got 1.5 stars.
I feel like that's not that controversial. I feel like a lot of people, because I just recently watched the Drunken Library recently, as the last 6 months or so. They read that, and they said that it was incredibly boring and awful and like the worst thing they've ever read.
When there was no character development. The character's just, oh, here's this character, and that's who they are, and that's and you just need to accept that, and that's just them. This is the asshole, this is the hero, this is the cynic, like, here's the woman that's supposed to be, like, part of the story, but it's hardly there. Like,
how bizarre. Okay, so my next read is going to be controversial if Goodreads has anything to say about this, because apparently I'm the odd man out, and everyone else loves this, and I hate it. So this is the graphic novel Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. Stevenson. Which I was so excited about because I keep hearing people I trust, that I respect their opinions, tell me that this is a fantastic graphic novel and that it has a strong female character and that it's really worth your time and energy to read. And I really had to force myself to read this, to finish it. I felt like it really felt very juvenile and predictable, and the art wasn't that great or special, and the characters were not, like, they were trying for depth and they didn't succeed at all. Like, the bad guy is like, oh, just kidding, he's actually the good guy. Yeah, no, I saw that happening from like page 1. And oh, but the good guy, he's really not the good guy. Yeah, equally saw that. Like, I don't understand. There's no complexity here. It's just... Anyways, I gave this 1 star because I was expecting this to be at least a 4-star read for me, and I wanted to DNF it like 20 pages into it, and I should have. I really honestly should have. I pushed through because I heard that it was amazing, and it wasn't, and it was awful, and I hated it.
Okay, because I read such an amazing Michael Crichton novel, I decided to just read all 3 of his books that are on my top 100 sci-fi list, and I'm surprised they're there. Next one I have to talk about here is The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. This is another one of flat characters, but also every character in this is extremely arrogant because they're all like medical scientists and stuff, and they're like, well, I can never be wrong, like, you know.
So this is the one Michael Crichton I've never heard of. So what is this one about?
This one is about a satellite crashes in a remote town in like Arizona, and the whole town dies except for a baby and an old man. And so these scientists go in and they recover the satellite, they recover the old man and the baby, and they take them to this high-tech facility that's specifically built for this situation of this alien contagion that comes from outer space. And so it's just a bunch of arrogant people arguing over who's right, and then it goes to a very anticlimactic ending that's just... And I have seen the movie. I saw the movie to this like 15 years ago, and don't laugh at me.
Literally half my life ago. No,
and so I knew everything that was coming, and it was blah.
It was amazing, and you recommend it to everyone.
And so 2 stars on that one.
Well, wow. Go ahead and finish it up with your Michael Crichton.
All right.
You're on a roll.
So this one, Sphere by Michael Crichton. This is the best of the Michael Crichton that I've read, and I am done reading Michael Crichton after this one. So
this one's on my list.
I gave this one 3 stars. It was okay enough. It is about a deep sea expedition where the Navy has found this spacecraft crashed in the ocean that has been there for 300 some years. And so they get all of these scientists and they take them down to this habitat. They get stuck down there. Things go wrong, all of that. And it was okay enough. It was fluff sci-fi.
So the next thing that I read, I listened to on audiobook because after Chelsea Handler narrated her story, I wanted more like that. So I read Dan Savage's Commitment, and I thought this was interesting. I thought it was dated, obviously, but this is the story of him and his longtime boyfriend deciding whether or not they wanted to get married when gay marriage wasn't really a legal option for them unless they wanted to go to Canada. I enjoyed having it narrated by him and listening to his inflection and his voice while he was doing it, but I don't know. And there was one point where I actually got choked up and I cried when he was talking about his son's mother and the adoption process, and it was very heart-wrenching and it was very sad. And there were times when I was actually laughing out loud. I think this was very emotionally, like, on point. I just think it was stretched way too long a bit for me. But yeah. 3 stars. I thought it was enjoyable as an audiobook.
Okay. All right. I started this one for Tome Topple last month in November. That is Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard. This is a brick of a book. 1,060 pages. I rated it 2 stars. This book started out okay. This character, Johnny Tyler, the main character, is very Mary Sue. Did you know he's the best horse rider in the world?
I think I did.
Did you know he's the best hunter in the world? Do you know he's the best at marksman in the world? Do you know he's the best pilot in the world? What? Do you know he's the best at political negotiation in the world too, and overall military strategy in the world also?
Wow.
He's just awesome.
The ultimate Mary Sue.
He's the best in the world.
He's the best in the world.
He's the best in the world at everything.
At everything.
Yeah. Best at the world.
Okay.
This book is what happens when an author has too much freedom over the content of the book, or when there's no editor at all. Because it's like it was like Hubbard had every single frickin' idea that he ever wanted to make about this book, and he inserted it in some way. The last quarter of this book, most of it was like business negotiations, like seriously sitting at a table negotiating like how things were gonna go.
The next thing I listened to on audiobook, but that was Ender's Shadow. I'm really, really, really happy that I finally finished this. I started this, it must have been last summer, and I got a good quarter of the way through, and then I put it down and I got distracted for a really long time. So I was very happy to push through. The beginning where I was rereading what I had already read was a little slow. But I enjoyed the fact that there were multiple narrators, voice actors in the...
Oh, in the audiobook, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
in the
yes,
audiobook. So because this is told from the perspective mostly of between Bean and then the nun who finds Bean on the street and recommends him to battle school. Mm-hmm. And so she's talking a lot to the commanders and trying to get him into the program after they've already found Ender. And they're like, it doesn't matter who you send us. Like, Ender's going to save us. Uh-huh. And she's like, yeah, okay, but just in case he doesn't, like, this kid is 4 years old and he's freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought this story was fantastic, and I'm really glad that I jumped straight from Ender to Ender's Shadow. And I really want to get into the next one, which will go more into Peter's story, I think.
And that's Shadow of the Hegemon.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, so long story short, I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was great. I thought the audiobook was fantastic, and I am very excited to jump into the next book.
Nice. Ursula K. Le Guin's The Lathe of Heaven. This is actually something that I saw a very cheaply made 70s movie of first. But this story is about a man whose dreams essentially shape reality. So what he dreams becomes real, and so this gets into ideas of someone has the power to completely change the world overnight. Do you use that power to make the world a better place? But who decides what is the better place that the world should be? And is it worth sacrificing the sanity of this one man to achieve those ends? And the ends that you intend are not always the ends that come about. So I gave that one 4 stars. Definitely not at the level of The Left Hand of Darkness, but definitely very good and very fascinating.
Okay, the next thing that I have finished was another audiobook, and this is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. This is by Marie Kondo, and it's like a 2.5-hour audiobook about finding joy in your surroundings, in your home, and tidying up your home. And I think that a lot of people have read it, and I made fun of so many people who, you know, toted this as like a serious thing for a really long time. And then I listened to it, and I get it. But listening to this little Japanese woman talk about this is a very traditional thing, it just made more sense listening to in her own words.
Uh-huh.
So it took a really cheesy subject and made it more believable and more authentic,
yeah,
I guess. So I gave it a 4-star.
On to the best book that I read this month, and this is Valis by Philip K. Dick. This book restored my faith in Philip K. Dick. I had read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. I loved it. And then I read The Man in the High Castle, which was terrible. So this is a book about a character, Horse Lover Fats, who is just committable, needs to be committed to a mental hospital, insane. And it goes on with him trying to figure out how the world works. So he thought that Jesus was this thing called the plasmate, which was essentially this extraterrestrial entity, Fat, trying to understand the world, trying to tie into all the world's religions into one idea and to make sense of existence and everything that is encapsulated within it. And then all of a sudden it switches to this other character that makes a little more sense, but you find out his name is Phil, in which you find out who is Philip K. Dick.
No!
The first part of this book you spend laughing at how utterly insane Horse Lover Fats is. And then you are so upset with yourself when you find out that Horse Lover Fats is essentially a reflection of how insane Philip K. Dick was as an actual person. This book essentially has made me interested in Philip K. Dick himself as a person, and that the way that he writes his books, he had this drive to understand, to fully understand the world around him, why people act the way they do, why the world behaves the way it does. And it is just absolutely fascinating and mind-blowing and just baffling all at the same time.
I should not have recorded my best of video before finishing this one. And this is The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor. And this is the prequel to, so I think
Who Fears Death?
Yeah, Who Fears Death. This was freaking amazing and beautiful and astounding and transcendent and something that I have not read before ever. I am not usually one to understand the symbolism and the layers of complexity in a story when an author writes a fantastical story and you're supposed to interpret it as like drawing correlations to the everyday modern world. But this one I understood. I really tapped into the anger and the frustration and the main character as she is trying to come into her own power and fight for love, and in the many complexities in like friendship, in the solidarity of like just people she deems the same as her, and just kind of trying to fight the system and in trying to find herself. Anyways, this was amazing and wonderful, and I give it 5 stars, and I'm going to pick up everything else by Nydia Okorafor.
I started on Guilty Pleasures by Laura K. Hamilton, and there be vampires in this. There be
lots of vampires
ghouls and some zombies, and there's also
there's strippers.
There's some boy strippers in here that are also vampires, and they do this whole hypnotism thing in there too, and they use it to blackmail Anita Black, who is
Blake.
Anita Blake. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
They just refer to her as Anita, and I'm drunk too, so...
No, so am I, obviously.
But anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I'm about a quarter of the way through this, and it's actually captivating more than a supernatural should that's not Underworld with Kate Beckinsale, so, you know, which the new movie's coming out soon, so Blood Wars, look out for that. We're going, right, honey? We're going.
So I started The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I was told by everyone, everywhere, that this was supposed to be an amazing read. I don't know how to say it in a PG way, but I'm just going to love this in such a way that I'm just going to be ecstatic.
Insta-sploosh?
Yeah, sploosh all over the place. So I am halfway, like literally halfway through this, and I could put it down and never look at it again.
Look back.
And be completely fine. So I'm not sure if something drastic happens in the last half of this that I am not expecting that is supposed to make it or break it for me, but it's not doing it for me at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that special. It feels very YA. It feels very distant and more of it's telling you that it's gorgeous instead of showing you that it's gorgeous. I am so sad. It was supposed to be amazing.
And then I am 43% finished through with An Anthem by Neil Stevenson.
That is such a big book. It is like twice as big as a normal book. It's huge. Yeah.
It's, you know, but this is Stevenson though, so
yeah,
you can this is shorter than Cryptonomicon, which I read in 2016. That was 1130 pages. I'm really enjoying this. This is about people that live in a walled society and they worship mathematics like it's a religion. Yeah. They talk about math all the time. And math is fascinating to me. I love math. I stopped reading this one because I realized I wasn't going to finish it by the end of December, and so I wasn't going to be able to completely wrap it up. But I will be able to finish it by the end of January.
I started The Help, which I am very, very proud of myself. I have been sitting on this book for years, and finally I picked it up on audiobook, which was absolutely the most perfect thing ever. I am not going to finish this by the end of the month, but I will finish it in January. And that's a lot of books. That's a lot of wine.
And we're finally done. So...
It's like 4 days later.
So, if you have any comments on these books or want to talk about what you read, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel.
Happy
like
New
this
Year.
video. Sorry this is so frickin' long.